Good evening, everyone. We'll begin this session shortly. First, allow me to go over the house rules and SOPs of tonight's session. So first, kindly keep your microphones muted when you aren't speaking to avoid any unwanted disturbances. Second, kindly use the raise hand function when you'd like to speak during the guided discussion so that our moderator can call on you. And lastly, feel free to leave your questions in the chat box so that our team can prepare for tonight's guided discussion. We'd also love it if you could stay to the end, as your evaluation form will be necessary to claim your e-certificate. Thank you. Now, without further ado, I'd like to turn over the virtual stage to Ms. Rachel Estelilia, who will be our moderator for tonight. Rachel is an educator and corporate trainer whose main advocacy is for women empowerment through social media. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's installment of the Zero Hunger Lab Summer Institute. So tonight's session is all about scale and solutions. Jumping off of our previous sessions, where we talked to different movers in the NGOs, foundations, and nutrition spaces, in this session, we will be talking to experts who work in the intersections of these spaces. So tonight, we will have our guest experts discuss the best practices of foundations in their efforts to address nutrition concerns across various communities, as well as the incubation processes for various solutions to address food security. And without further ado, I am happy to introduce our first speaker, who will be sharing their best practices and the scale of nutritional needs of their partner communities. Mr. Austir A. Panadero is the Executive Director of the Zwillig Family Foundation. He has a wealth of experience in ensuring that local governments have the capacity to effectively deliver public services and become accountable, transparent, and results-based. He has worked for close to 3 decades in various capacities at the Department of Interior and Local Government, where he was Undersecretary from 2007 until he retired in 2018. An industrial engineering graduate of the University of the Philippines, he began working in the government sector as a technical staff of the Development Academy of the Philippines, where he eventually became its vice president. And in the DILG, he ensured the continuity of program and policy implementation amid multiple leadership changes. So for being an exemplary public official who has dedicated his life to improving local governance, the Ateneo de Manila University conferred to him the 2016 Government Service Award. Welcome, Sir Austir. The virtual stage is yours.
Maraming salamat, Ms. Rachel.
You're
Good
welcome.
evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to share with you what we're doing at the Zwillig Family Foundation with respect to our work on nutrition. The foundation has been working with close to 5 provinces, 3 cities, and several towns over the last 3 to 4 years, and I think the experience there is very enriching, and as well as this would be the basis of responding to the question that was propounded by the Summer Institute, the Zero Hunger Lab, that asks specifically what are the scaling up strategies. So we just move into the okay, next slide, please. Let me just put this into context. So what I'll do is really just give you an overview of probably the national challenge that we have today, both on hunger and nutrition, but zero in really on nutrition, especially the first 1,000 days issues. As you would know, and you can further go deeper into this as part of the coursework or the your interest is the country or our legislative branch passed a new law on the first 1,000 days, and this is a very it's a landmark legislation that really created the space for a more intensive uh, work on the first 1,000 days of pregnancy, because this is really the window that work on nutrition has to start, rather than wait some time in the future when the infants and or babies already are growing up. Okay, so let me just again let me just show this, no, just to, I think you know what the magnitude of the problem today with respect to hunger. And here we'll use the social weather station latest survey, and it says this is the red spaces there indicate that hunger is indeed getting to be a major concern. The right side shows you the graph on the stunting prevalence on the 0 to 23 months, and this is the first 1,000 days, as well as the wasting of the 0 to 23 months. And the figures are shown there, and the trajectory is, this is 2019, mind you. And the worrisome part is that if the hunger the situation further deteriorates, these lines might move up, and which will create a bigger problem for the country. In fact, several of our economists, social scientists are already calling attention to this concern. This is the work that we do in the CFF to help address stunting and wasting, because we believe these are the critical markers, no? Ito talaga yung kondisyon na kailangan nating gampanan o bantayan at bigyan ng kaukulang interventions para hindi palalong lumala ang sitwasyon na ito. Next slide, please. Now, and this is now let me just segue therefore to uh, starting with scaling up. Uh, the matter of nutrition is, at the end of the day, is a local government concern. The LGU being the integrator at the local level. Uh, there is really an increasing recognition that nutrition is not only a matter of a feeding concern, para para magampanan natin ang issue ng nutrisyon, local governments as key integrators must be really able to link this up with the food security and the food systems that are essential in generating the nutritious food that are required in all stages of the pregnancy, all the way to the nurturing of our infants. It is also essential that health services are available in all stages of the development of the pregnancy, as well as of the development of our infants and babies. And that in all of this, our local governments are carefully tracking the outcomes of the pregnant mothers and their children in the first 1,000 days. Therefore, it is essential that we have leaders at the local level that are really committed to it, who understands the critical knobs, as we would call it, on what exactly to do at various stages of this life course, using reliable data for decision making, uh, and in all, close to real time decision making, and be clear on the targets and make sure that these are all understood by their constituents. Ito yung pinaka-critical dito, no? In the scaling up of the work on nutrition to address this problem, the local governments play a very critical role indeed. Uh, let me move to the next slides just to give you an idea of what needs to be done. I think the context of this session is very clear. No? Para bang, what are the challenges in scaling up known solution? The problem of nutrition has been with us for quite some time, and we thank those who are studying this and has been really looking deeper into all these issues, because the way or the solution to this problem is also adequately known. Uh, in fact, there is a Philippine Plan of Action on Nutrition that guides the work here. There are things that we call nutrition-specific programs, and there are those that we call nutrition-sensitive programs. Of course, the more critical ones are really the nutrition-specific programs, wherein there is a need to ensure that pregnant women during the course of the pregnancy are afforded prenatal care, at least 4 visits during this period. And there is postpartum care, there is lactation support. Hopefully, there is a exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, and nutrition tracking is adequately done for both mother and child. Supplementation happens for the first 6 months after birth, and there is family planning advice and guidance, diet diversification, and vaccination, and in case of severe situation, acute malnutrition rehabilitation services are afforded. Uh, but these are not enough. I think over the years, as we in CFF and other partners and other agencies have also discovered, kailangan din itong suportahan ng mga nutrition-sensitive programs. And that is by ensuring that there is a adequate behavior adoption that happens as we provide support to our target nutritionally at risk pregnant women or infants and babies. And that social protection services are likewise provided, as well as a water and sanitation, and perhaps even some livelihood support, especially targeted to those who are really needing them the most. Uh, Programs for parents and caregivers, likewise, in terms of social services, are also necessary to complement the nutrition-specific programs. The challenge here really, as I think, and the main message I want to provide is, while these solutions are known, the main challenge is that there is a need to simultaneously implement the nutrition-specific and nutrition-sensitive program so that we get the maximum benefit from all of this. Kung minsan at kadalasan, and in our experience with the local governments, sabi ng mga mayor, akala namin ang nutrisyon ay feeding lang. So hintayin muna natin na may mga infants or babies na at saka na lang pakainin. I think at the end of the whole experience, everyone realized actually, and you need to start even at the pregnancy stage. Maraming local governments na ngayon ang gumagawa ng mga actively providing services to these nutritionally at risk women who are pregnant, as well as the nutritionally at risk babies. I don't want to go into the full details of this, but you can check this in your through the internet. Close to NCR, I think a good program at the moment is the Karinderya para sa kalusugan ni Chikiting at Buntis sa Malabon po. This is a very interesting program that has already shown good results, that focuses on good pregnancy tracking and the effort for the first 1,000 days. And also here in NCR, there are NGOs that are doing programs that are, micro enterprise in nature, but ensures that adequate food, properly or nutritious food, are accessible to the poor segments of the community by way of ensuring that the supply chain, from the farm to the karinderya, gets provided to the marginalized sector. And this is under the Kasagana cooperative work that is being done in several LGUs in Metro Manila. These are just some of the examples that are worth looking into. I'm showing this to also impress in this discussion that while local government is your integrator to provide both nutrition specific and nutrition sensitive programs, there are also possibilities of collaborating with other sectors in terms of creatively putting together programs addressing the needs of our segments of the society that are really nutritionally at risk. So ito po yung unang mensahe lang dito. No? There are known solutions, both nutrition specific, nutrition sensitive, but they have to come in as a package. And LGUs are the ones that are really in the forefront of this and are, ika nga sila ang first responder and it is their mission to find ways by which they can be provided. Putting it the other way, next slide please. This one it just shows you that yung intervention over a life cycle is also known. And as I mentioned earlier, there are appropriate times when this should be done. Ang challenge talaga lang naman dito is because we all know these interventions, is how you effectively integrate all the services of, say, a local government from the agriculture office to the health office to the social welfare office so that it can have greater impact. Kung minsan operationally ang nakita po namin nang nagsimula kami ng proyekto sa mga ibang LGU, pag pinag-usapan natin sino ba ang nutritionally at risk na kung saan iyan din ang target ng ating nutrisyon at sila din dapat ang target ng ating social welfare at sila din yung target ng ating agriculture office, sila rin yung target ng ating health office. Nung nagsimula, kadalasan ay napakaraming listahan because everyone tries to generate their own set of targets. While that's helpful, a more impactful intervention is to actually collaborate and agree who are really the priorities, knowing that to be effective, the response to malnutrition requires the contribution of everyone from the entire local government. Yan yung challenge. And also not only local governments because a large portion of it also comes from the national government. So and I'm introducing now another player here, the national government. If you notice, there are necessary food supplements that at times LGUs will be hard put to really acquire. The diet and micronutrients supplementation and complementation, they come in the form of packs of commodities that are procured by national government and given to the local government. The issue there at times is really a lot of logistics, ensuring that it reaches the target LGUs and therefore the households of the nutritionally at risk pregnant women at the appropriate time. And that is a challenge that continues to be a concern that continues to be something that all the players, local and national, are trying to improve the system to make that really a seamless one. Next slide. So in the concrete, therefore, what are the scaling up challenges? Okay. So what we saw on the ground, and this is also supported by a World Bank study just completed in 2021. So kung pag-usapan po natin, so ano ngayon ang talagang hinaharap ng mga challenge ng ating LGUs in scaling up? By the way, let's put this into context lang again. When we say scaling up, this is really about ensuring that hopefully all the LGUs in 32 provinces that are being identified in the Philippine Plan of Action on Nutrition are able to do the things, both nutrition sensitive and nutrition specific services, they're all able to do all of those adequately. So you can imagine that in some places in the country, some LGUs are able to do it, but not in all of the 32 provinces. And assuming na lang that there are 20 towns per province, more or less, we are talking of around 600 municipalities that are the target of the so-called scaling up. So yun yung magnitudes lang ng scaling up. But let's look at on a per LGU level, ang main challenge talaga ng ating mga LGUs in terms of being able to integrate as well as deliver all these services are as follows. Unang-una, no, as I mentioned, itong micronutrient supplements. Uh, Kuminsan, kadalasan, bilang pala minsan, no, kadalasan ito po'y hindi sapat. At yung supply chain, as I mentioned, is still something that really needs a lot of improvement. Yung feeding, which are mostly held in schools, uh, as I also pointed out earlier, is okay, but we missed out on the first 1,000 days. Yung first 1,000 days, this starts at pregnancy, the 9 months, all the way to 2 years old. Wala pa ho yun sa eskwelahan. So there's a need to really expand the intervention all the way to pregnancy. The inadequate number of full-time nutrition action officers as well as health workers. Now, these two items here, no, the health workers, nutrition workers, and nutrition action officers, they're the frontliners. In the parlance of the LGU, they're called barangay health workers and barangay nutrition scholars. They're all volunteers. So you can imagine already the kind of human resource challenge that are being faced by our local governments. Some are able to continuously provide, but most have really challenges here in terms of both number, competence, as well as motivation. Maririnig po natin at patuloy itong ginagampanan, binibigyan din naman ng kaukulang pansin ng ating mga LGU, yung sapat na suporta, be it in as honoraria or as allowance. In fact, what we saw that really made an impact, say in the case, say for example, of Tacorong City, ang DLGU nagdesisyon na lang, kailangan na lang namin siguro silang i-hire para talagang we can really ensure their full productivity as well as really invest on their training. So these are really one of the main challenges in scaling up, the adequacy of workers at the community level. Of course, budget. Probably I'll explain it a little bit earlier. LGUs, hindi lang naman nutrisyon ang kanilang binabantayan. Marami pang iba. So it needs really a good strategy to ensure that when we say adequate, the budget that will allow you to get to your outcomes. Lahat naman po may budget, pero yung iba ay kulang nga lang at hindi sapat upang to transform the current problem into the kind of targets or outcomes that one expects a particular community should be. No? The other one is a data. Isa pa ito sa major challenge. I think the one I can share with you immediately here as we're talking to the mayors and governors, they will say, I never thought it is a problem because the data that I saw, which is 1 year old, did not really, clearly show that the magnitude of the problem. And indeed, that was the situation because our data generation system at the moment is really, it takes quite a long period of time to produce the data, when in fact, what is needed by the LGUs is almost near real time. Kasi kung nutritionally at risk, at makikita mo lang yan after 12 months, nakapanganak na sigurado yung buntis at hindi natin nalaman na siya pala ay nutritionally at risk. So this is really a challenge which as part of the interventions now both government and some of our partner NGOs, we're trying to help develop the system, and hopefully I think if some of the participants in this webinar might have good ideas on how to use technology to facilitate effective and near real-time data gathering so that uh, situations on the ground are effectively captured at the right time, processed, and utilized for resource allocation decision. The other one is really engaging the communities. As the experience also showed, uh, itong usapin sa nutrition, this is fought at the household, at the barangay and community levels. So yung engagement ng ating mga kasamahan at ating mga iba pang organization at the barangay level is very critical. The one that we saw that are really effective and sustainable are the ones that have really active community participation, not only in nutrition tracking, not only in Operation Timbang and the likes, but even actually in food production. In fact, there is a greater call now, and I think I saw Sea Oil as part of the sponsors of this webinar. We're working closely with Sea Oil in Sarangani to also integrate nutrition and food systems interventions. Next slide, please. So I guess in conclusion, let me just point out, in all of this work that we do, we we noticed that leadership is key into all of this. If you recall, I started with also saying that since the LGU is the key integrator of all the nutrition specific, nutrition sensitive interventions. It goes without saying na yung ang pamunuan or the pinuno in all our local governments, local chief executives, is really a key ingredient into this whole process. The challenge, however, is compounded because of the disruptions that we are facing today, and this is the more I think urgent challenge that in fact in the three cities that we're working with on nutrition, the services were adversely affected because those who are doing nutrition work, as I said, the health worker, the barangay health worker, the BNS, are also tapped to do COVID. Which is really lang the way to go. I mean, but because of that, it has also created another set of problems. So yung COVID pandemic is a real challenge because the question that we need to answer there, and I hope you can also suggest ways of dealing with that short term and long term, is how do you continue providing the regular services on nutrition at the same time also being able to respond to pandemic, to COVID. Uh, there are ways that some our LGUs are adopting, but is an area that continues to be a challenge to everyone. The climate change and natural disasters, yung mga bagyo. I think we all know this. Itong usapin ng pagkain tuwing may evacuation, this one is really a major issue. So especially those who are pregnant, and some of our LGUs have already made adjustments. In fact, there are good practices that pregnant women and uh, infants are being provided with what we call the minimum intervention on nutrition even in evacuation centers, no? So but then still it is a challenge to our local governments. The two other challenges that I'd like to flag to you is a things that are part of our own political processes, as well as in our adjustments in our local governance. One, of course, is that there is an upcoming national election. These are also both, well, we can call it disruption, but it might also be an opportunity wherein fresh insights and leadership priorities can now be also mainstream into the agenda of those who will be assuming the leadership role at our local governments. Uh, Gagawa na naman tayo ng panibagong health and boards, mga local health board, nutrition committees every after election, and it is equally both a challenge and an opportunity. Yeah, but by and large, it is an opportunity for fresh insights on what to do better, starting with the new administration in July of 2022 at the local levels. And hopefully there are new advocates that can pursue the work. The first box, the full devolution and local financing, I think, I don't know if most of you are aware of the the Garcia Mandanas Supreme Court decision of the Supreme Court on this case, where the national government has already indicated the shift to what is known as a full devolution. Incidentally, what it means really is that the era of our LGUs in 2022 will increase by roughly almost 50% because of the new way that the internal revenue allotment will be computed. And as we all know, it is automatically released. So in 2022, our LGUs will have more resources. So I included it as a challenge because it is an opportunity at the same time, because it is a good time to really advocate for more investments in nutrition to address or more investment to address the nutrition issues. First 1,000 days, etc. Napakalaking oportunidad po nito na may dagdag at hopefully sapat na resources ang ating mga LGUs upang magkaroon pa ng kapunduhan ang ating programa sa nutrisyon at maibigay ng sapat ang nutrition specific at ang nutrition sensitive services that are really vital in the first 1,000 days and onward to the first 5 years of our children. So these are the key elements that I'd like to share with you this evening, and hopefully this can generate more interaction as well as fresh ideas on how we can all better respond to this particular issue. And I'd like to thank the organizer, the Zero Hunger Lab and the Summer Institute, for including this particular topic, as it is really an issue that needs all the insights, all the bright ideas, and all the suggestions uh, 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 to come up with a better way of addressing this particular problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Austere. First of all, I just want to commend ZFF and your leadership for what you guys do in helping improve nutrition in the different communities. I'd like to start with you mentioning that, of course, leadership is key. And I always believe that it's, as above, so below. So the success of the programs that you've initiated is especially because of your leadership and the leadership in our LGUs. But sir, my question is, you mentioned the LGUs are the key integrators. So ZFF has laid out the programs. They're very detailed, they're very specific. And how far, I mean, what is the scope of your monitoring when it
Ah,
comes to seeing to it that the programs are stay in place?
well, thank you for that question, Rachel, because the way we intervene, which is really from the leadership and governance capacity building, the first step is really establishing baselines.
Okay.
And these are regularly tracked over a period so that the chief executives would know if their leadership acts creates an impact on this
Mm-hmm.
on the outcomes. We pay a lot of attention to the indicators under the health outcomes, which is essentially the stunting and the wasting, and the nutritionally at risk. Those are your outcome indicators. The access indicators is really, the prenatal care, postpartum
Mm-hmm.
care, and the feeding supplementation. So if the LGUs are able to do that over the course of the intervention, then they're better guided on what to do pa.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. Thank you, sir. Later, maybe we would like to dig deeper into that. But thank
Sure.
you, sir. I will just ask you one more question before we proceed with our next speaker. We have a question from the audience. Paano po ang mga nasa interior part of the community? Will
Interior part of the
of the
community.
community will
Well,
risk is outraged?
what does that? Actually, I'm confused with that last one. Where the risk is outrage. Well, yung interior part of the
Mm-hmm.
communities, that's why I was saying, yung LGU does this barangay. Because if you go barangay and you're able to identify your nutritionally at risk, then and there are methodologies for that. No? I mean, magtitimbang talaga tayo.
Mm-hmm.
At babantayan natin yung buntis.
Yeah.
So yung buntis tracking is essential. So ma-interior ka man at hindi, yung poblasyon, kailangan kang matukoy ng may terrorist cases. Yun, well, ma'am, talagang I fully agree with you. This is where the challenge really happens, no? If you don't even have it's because the whole service delivery
Yeah.
continuum, your front line is your BHW and the BNS.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're not there because of peace and order concerns, then that whole system really is a challenge. So yun sana ang kailangan you know uh, kailangan ding mapag-usapan. Baka may ibang paraan na malaman natin yung I know in some places if at a certain period in the pregnancy they somehow there is an incentivized na LGU na bumaba na sa poblasyon.
Mm-hmm.
So that doon ang mga anak talaga sa facility that are designated. Otherwise, it is going to be really a big problem.
Yes. Thank you, Sir Ostier. We have a lot of good questions coming in, but in the meantime, we would like to proceed with our next guest speaker. But to the audience, please continue sending in your questions in our chat box, and then we will have time to discuss later on. All right. So moving on, it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Federico Gonzalez. He is the director of De La Salle University's Animal Labs. So Mr. Federico C. Gonzalez, or Dicky, as he is popularly known, he was appointed in January 2017 as the first executive director of DLSU's Animal Labs Technology Business Incubator for the incubation and commercialization of university research of faculty, students, alumni, and others. Currently, he is coaching over 20 projects and is very active in workshops, competitions, Tech Pre 101 teacher training, and assisting other TBIs. So Animal Labs is also the thought leader and advocate of technology and innovation-driven entrepreneurship at DLSU. Technology, entrepreneurship, and innovation are Sir Dickie's passion, which he has pursued for 15 years now. And this passion took seed in his organizing in 2005, the Peso Challenge, which is the first ever technology business plan competition in the Philippines. So he completed his Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering as magna cum laude in 1964 at the De La Salle College and MS Industrial Management at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge in 1966. Welcome, Sir Dickey.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's almost 7 o'clock, so are you with us? This is kind of like a end of day activity, so let me just get into my slides first. But you know, this just to let you know that the talk earlier of Austere was quite challenging, although it motivates one to think of ways to meet the challenge. What I can say is that we probably don't have any quick answers as far as Animal Labs is concerned to any of those challenges, nor of how we can help. But what I'd like to do is to tell you what we do. We've got 10 different types of projects on our plate right now. And if there's anything there that we can, any particular direction that we have or competence we have that can help, then maybe that's the kind of match that we can work out. So I'm going to put up my screen here. Quick introduction to Animal Labs. Here we go. Everybody see this? Okay. When we were first, is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. When we were first created with DOST funding, 2017, DOST wanted us to be technology, very technology focused. And at that time, we were assigned nanomaterials because we had several projects in that particular technology area. But sometime in early 2020, we decided to be more thematic in our approach, and this is what we chose: sustainability-oriented innovation. And we've been working in this area since then. Okay. We have our offices in Manila and fabrication lab at the Laguna campus. As mentioned earlier, we're involved in university-based technology business incubator to commercialize research projects, inventions, and creative ideas. And we're also a thought leader in technology and innovation-driven entrepreneurship. Our mission is something that I will discuss in a while, then a number of activities that we do that help to support this vision. We are a separate corporation and with our own board of directors. Our president is the same brother who's also president of De La Salle University. So we work very closely with the vision and values and mission of De La Salle University. I'm the executive director. I'm full-time at Animal Labs with 5 program managers working on paper on 5 different focus areas. Although when we do have projects, we're able to create teams out of any combination of them. Okay. This is what we're doing right now. I've got sort of like um, 12 different areas of activity. And let me just go quickly through each of these. One thing that we're doing is that since we were supported by DOST in setting up our TBI, we had also de facto been made responsible for taking leadership in technopreneurship in the university. Now that we found out that TechPre 101 is a mandated course for all engineering degree programs, mandated by CHED, that is, we've decided that we would do some teacher training in this area in order to prepare teachers who are being assigned this course, several of them for the first time. So we have a memorandum of agreement with Globe. We're actually working with them on this thing, with their funding, and we're presently on track 1 with 49 teachers from 10 schools, and track 2 is for other universities that CHED might nominate. Okay. So this is ongoing as of right now. Also in partnership with Globe, we've organized and are conducting a 5G technology hackathon, which aims to develop applications, specific applications in the areas of smart cities, society, and industry utilizing 5G technology. We have 98 team entries. They've now been reduced to 30 who will take additional workshops, and out of which we will have several winners that will be supported with incubation. We're also doing a climate launchpad competition. We are the Philippine representative of this EU-based competition, but we have a disappointingly low rate of registrations, and we attribute that to some level of maybe pandemic fatigue, maybe online fatigue, maybe our usual participants just haven't been able to reach their laboratories. We are also decided that before we start preaching sustainability to others, we have to practice it at home. And so we have obtained endorsement by the De La Salle Philippines President's Circle to provide sustainability reporting for all De La Salle schools. And the idea here is that with a common goal, we might be able to get the schools to have what we call useful and friendly comparisons and benchmarking, so that we can promote a real synergistic relationship of sustainability in campus environment and practices, in reporting, and in campus community work, campus community awareness and extracurricular. Noting that our students are the ones who will inherit the world that we work on, or improve, or maybe not improve. So we're also working on a circular economy initiative. We're creating a website here that will support newsletters and fora, with the aim that we can have some focus on circular economy as a very direct way of meeting some SDG goals. We've signed up with Civica on the creation of a platform for collaboration between ourselves, and this will serve as a hub for related social engagement projects. And this came from Elmer, which includes here we go, Zero Hunger Lab, including Financial Inclusion Lab and Forestry Sustainability Lab. We are happy to work with Civica. We're very impressed with the experience and in the practice of social engagement that our partners bring to this collaboration, especially their work at AIM, MIT, and University of Queensland. We're also promoting the digitization of many activities in universities and certificate granting institutions. So we have partnered with PhilPass to issue what we call tamper-proof verifiable documents to recipients so that these things can be stored and shared securely. And if we do a good job here, we will possibly take Recto out of business. Maybe not totally, but a lot of those false certificates coming out of Recto should be replaced by digital certificates. We're involved in ESG reporting for the corporate community, especially the publicly listed corporations. We are being assisted here by Accenture, and we have a big program to help our publicly listed corporations meet their SEC reporting objectives. We are going to be very busy on these things for the next 12 months. As a technology business incubator that has been favored with funding by DOST, we are now sharing that benefit with other HEIs and RDIs to whom we have granted training assistance in the creation of their own TBIs. Of course, there are a couple of these from LaSalle, CSB, Araneta, DASMA, LSU and Osamis, and University of St. LaSalle in Bacolod, National University, etc. But this become part of our network, which can be used by Civica and our inclusive growth projects, because each of these have their own communities that can benefit from your ideas. We're also collaborating with Launch Garage on a Smarter Cities project where our major incubators might get special accelerator training program. One of the things that we're doing, and this is one thing that really excites me, is that a lot of the projects that we're doing are mostly low-cost, high-outcome, high-income projects. Whenever you have projects like this, especially those that impact society and impact environment, I think it's very important not only to talk about how much cost is invested in those projects, but also to have some form of measurement of impact. Impact can be a combination of direct and secondary effects and secondary influences, for example, so that we can provide quantitative inputs to reporting our sustainability accomplishments. This is a study that we will soon be conducting. And finally, we've gotten this far because of the support of DOST. This is our second TBI support project from them. Our project ends on August 31. Our budget is about exhausted. We met most deliverables. And so after this, we are ready to provide more assistance to different types of projects. So in general, I've told you what we do. We don't know yet exactly how we should be involved in your Zero Hunger Lab, but suffice it to say that we're here to look for ways to help. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Dicky. I actually feel so good. I'm a proud Lasallian. And my favorite part uh, in what you talked about is that we focus on low cost, high impact projects. Uh, how soon are we looking at? You said we will be implementing the sustainability reports and accomplishments. Is it going to be soon within the year?
Well, we're starting with the universities, with the DLS
Mm-hmm.
universities, although that is, we're using sustainability reports that are designed for schools,
Okay.
and it does combine both campus practices
Mm-hmm.
with academics and research and student life and student communities, etc., which is what makes it so interesting. So
Right.
we're hoping that by the end of whatever school year we have with which university right now, they can probably get started on their first crack at it
Mm-hmm.
using standardized formats and frameworks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's very good. I mean, considering how thorough it's going to be, that's going to be good. Thank you, Sir Dicky. I have another question for you. A lot of innovators who aren't in the tech space, they often get discouraged to try for incubation opportunities because there's a lot of like they feel like it has to be hip or astounding. So, how do you feel? What do you think can we advise those in the humanities and social sciences who are looking for development opportunities? Maybe they're pressured because it has to be hip, you know?
Well,
So, what advice can you give them?
number one, we are trying to get incubators now that have ideas that help our particular sustainability theme. And so, what we'd like to do is to be able to identify problems and use a competitive bid solution or competitive bid approach to look for solutions. Um, we'd like to be able to tell the people from liberal arts and business that technology is just a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Do your solution first, and if it requires some form of technology for your idea to work, we'll source out the technology from the other university colleges. But you know, a solution always has these components. There's got to be a user with a problem
Mm-hmm.
who will benefit from your solution. The
Mm-hmm.
focus is on the who's the customer, who's the user, what's their problem, and what kind of benefit do you want to give them. Zero Hunger Lab's benefit is just not feeding. It's
Yes.
growth, it's nutrition, it's good families, it's a robust economy. So let's look at the big picture when we talk about benefits. So those that are not technologies or techies need not fear about being left behind,
Mm-hmm.
because all of you can call on friends, contract out the technology part of it, and there's
Mm-hmm.
enough people there to provide that service.
Yes. And I mean, the support that you're providing, as well as what Sir Austere mentioned earlier, that it's not just about food provision, right? It has to be linked to the food system, health sources, the outcome
Right, the
in the
big
long run.
picture.
Yeah.
Absolutely, the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sir, another thing, I was curious. I know you're also getting support from these huge multinational companies. I saw Accenture in one of your slides. Do they approach you, or do we do some kind of marketing to reach out to these private entities, which I know is also a goal of ZFF? Like, how do we get these private entities to take
Oh,
part in our
okay.
mission?
Number one is be visible in what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We've always been signing up, for example, in a lot of ESG workshops, the freebie workshops. There's so many of them out there, and keep on signing up to those workshops. And before you know it, people take notice of you. Oh, who are these guys? Why are they interested? Let's talk to them. Um, Today or yesterday, we just had a meeting with S&P Global, Standards and Poor Global.
Wow.
We didn't
Mhm.
seek them out. They invited us because they saw that we were active in this area. And the same thing goes with Accenture, which is the argument that we give for putting up portals and websites and Facebook pages and having newsletters, because they do get noticed. Um, there's a lot of AI robots out there looking at what you do.
That's
Make sure
true.
you do the right thing, because otherwise they'll feed you more of what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you, Sir Dicky. Sir Austere, is it all right if we ask you yes to
Sure.
turn your camera back on? Sir, anything that you would like to share? Like, how can the private entities, like what particular support are you seeing that the private entities can provide to ZFF or to the LGUs?
Well, actually, I'm very interested in what DP has been explaining kanina. I think the strength of yung group nyo, sir, DP, yung Animo, no? Animo Lab,
Yeah.
yung harnessing technology into, as you said, solving a problem. It's the things we do, a lot of there are, I would say, several potential that might merit some discussions moving forward. Una, yung tracking the nutritionally at risk. It's a laborious process, and one of the participants here actually in the chat, totoo yun, napakalayo ng mga lugar, etc. So I was just wondering, how can technology kaya help facilitate that with the cell phones and with what have you now, di ba? You don't really do physical presence and face-to-face every time na. I mean, even in health, di ba, may mga technology na tayong naririnig, nakikita, at in some cases talagang ginagamit na. But I was just curious kung is there a on that, no, a potential na we track nutritionally at risk pregnant women and children in far-flung areas covered by cell phone signals. How can that technology kaya facilitate the flow of info? No? That would be an interesting area
Oh,
to explore.
that actually the technology part of that is the simplest. The more difficult thing is how do you incentivize people to report on themselves and report on their neighbors.
Good
So
point.
maybe how do you incentivize them? So maybe that leads to some level of rewards.
Yeah.
You know, reward for reporting, and maybe it's just a 1 in 10,000 raffle type thing. But if people know that they're noticed and that they stand to be rewarded, in addition to just being good Samaritans for reporting, yeah, then we can work on that. Maybe the other one is convince the LGU to. Oh, by the way, I was thinking about this. Under the new Mandanas law, there's going to be a big bonanza in favor of the LGUs.
Correct.
In terms of money. I don't think that money is going to come in free of certain governance procedures and regulations and reporting and the like. It has to be. Otherwise, that money will just disappear if you don't do proper governance and reporting and controls. Let's talk about setting up dashboards so people can see where the money is going, how it's being spent.
Yeah. By the way, that goes all the way to the barangay.
Right. So the dashboard technology is easy enough, but then you're using it you'll use it to establish some level of community participation in checking on what the LGU is doing.
Agreed.
Yes.
So there ano din yan. That's a potential area for and probably technology can encourage more engagement with the community na eh.
Right.
Anyway, that's where we're heading naman eh. Yung even in the way we disseminate information, ano na, iba na eh. Dati pa poster pa tayo ngayon.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook lang katapat niyan.
Yeah.
Yes. The
Oh,
power of social media.
Yeah.
let's use
So,
that. And is
oh,
anybody here from J-Rig? Because they should be thinking about that whole area on how to provide incentives for proper use of this bonanza that will come
Mm-hmm.
with the Mandanas share, the big share.
Yeah, I think that will be very interesting and helpful.
Yeah.
And yeah, like what Sir Dicky said, technology, probably it's the simplest. Now it's, the question, what's in it for me? I know it's for a good cause, but, I'm an ordinary citizen, but what's in it for me, right? If I take part in this. So I think that should also be one factor that, we should consider. Sir, I just have one last question for the both of you. So, what next steps do you see as crucial for the Philippines to scale up and improve its existing solutions? So, I know we have stuff lined up, but talking of scaling up, what's our next step considering the pandemic, the current situation?
in the context of nutrition or
Mm-hmm.
as a general, uh, I think we have no other option really but to just continue, mount a campaign. We can no
Mm-hmm.
longer do this on a retail basis. Eh.
Mm-hmm.
The magnitude of the problem, as sort of indicated, the hunger is going to it's
Yeah.
going to be probably hard to guess, but lalala. Uh, and the kind of response cannot be business as usual. Eh.
Mm-hmm.
So from both the health, nutrition, and food sectors, they've just got to be, working together and really work closely. The LGUs really taking a more active role here. But
Mm-hmm.
kampanya na, I mean, we cannot have, as I said, a projectized approach to this. I think the latest World Bank report pointed out the seriousness of the problem. And in fact, the government already has put up a task force, di ba? Uh, on this. Private sector also has put up a group on zero hunger.
Mm-hmm.
I think the and the backbone of that is the PDSP. Ang task force hunger naman ng government, I think the one cabinet secretary, I think it's Secretary Nograles who's leading that. So recognize yan. So they're moving in in close collaboration with each other. So we just have to support that, and I think everyone is really should find ways of contributing to that effort. I would probably zero in the role of the academic communities. No?
Mm-hmm.
The education sector has its advocacy as well as developing more skills uh, to support the work on nutrition. Mahalaga 'yon kasi nauubusan tayo ng ng mga active, fully engaged professionals. Imagine, you have PNS, as somebody in the chat was mentioning, and the BHW. They are volunteers, no? But they're the
Mm-hmm.
frontliners. Kailangan natin silang patuloy na bigyan ng suporta, kung hindi man sa resources at sa allowances at sa what have you or higher investments in training. That's a huge number. No one organization can handle that. But if our educational system, our institutions, HEIs, mga higher education institutions, SUPs, and what have you, can help, put up a program that sustains that kind of a work, then we build up that critical mass on the ground that can continue the work. Sa ngayon, daan-daang libo. So, sino ang magto-training niyan? Yun ang hindi pa natin nahanapan ng solusyon. Alam natin ang solusyon, pero yung ipag-implement ng solusyon ay is a big issue down the line.
Thank you, Sir Austere. Sir Dicky?
I think probably the kind of approach that we would like to look at here, and it's not the only one, but it's one that first comes to mind, and this is me as an engineer, is just taking a look at the whole a systemic view of the whole supply chain, all the way to your accomplished nutritional objectives and work back from there. I know that you talked about your LGU nutritionists, health workers, and staff, etc. That's one part of the supply chain, but the other one is really the supply of food. Going all the way to Department of Agriculture and farming and growing and delivery, all the way to where it is consumed. There might be areas there where good ideas can come out, and we can get good ideas by running competitions. I know that there was some talk at the Department of Agriculture at one time about how you start addressing smaller farms. How do you create how do you have more farmers? I mean, it has to go all the way there, because a lot of children of farmers are refusing to be farmers because their only concept of farming is how the back-breaking work that their parents were doing. What about changing the whole definition of farming so that it becomes a good career, a rewarding career, as well as something that helps? So I'd like to take a look at that part of it to see how we can change, because I go home through SLEX from LaSalle, and there was a big sign there in SLEX, maybe it's not there anymore, that says that farmers' average age is something like 57, and there's nobody coming up to replace them. That is a big problem, that whole thing.
Thank you very much, Sir Dicky. Sir Dicky, Sir Austere, congratulations. You guys are doing such a good job leading your organizations. So we will close this session. Maybe before we go, I just saw one question, a request. Maybe in one sentence, can you tell us, like, in your opinion, what makes a good leader? In just one sentence.
Right. Will I go first?
Okay, yes, sir.
Go ahead,
Please go ahead.
Kami sa CFF, we go by our bridging leader, yung model, no? And that means a leader who owns the problem, who co-owns it, as well as co-create the solution to address the problem. So far, that model really works in what we do, and that's our compass in moving forward.
Accountability. Thank you,
Great.
Sir Austere. Sir
Okay.
Dicky?
In one word, purpose.
Love it. Thank you, Sir Dicky. So I'm sure I learned a lot. I was taking down notes. I'm sure everyone in our audience learned a lot from you. We hope to see you in our future sessions. Once again, thank you, and thank you Yes, sir. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Please wait up for the next session that's starting at 7:30 p.m. In the meantime, please stand by for the evaluation link that's flashed on your screens right now. So send this back to us and you will be receiving your e-certificates afterwards. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Good night,
Have a
everyone.
good night.
Night.
Be safe.